My name is Stephanie Santos, and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at EasyVista.
I'm Lauren Hogel, and I'm the Head of Professional Services for North America.
Hi, I'm Louis Trent from the Tech Support team.
I'm Garrett Tomiyama. I was the report guy last time, and I'll be the report guy this time as well. So, welcome back to reporting. We're going to talk a little bit today about modifying reports, but really what I want to show you is our out-of-the-box report accelerators, which is a handy little set of downloaded reports that I'll show you that I think will be very useful for you. We'll go through and demonstrate how to import those reports and kind of the what you have to watch out for and the gotchas there. And then we'll just take a look at quickly modifying an existing report. We'll schedule it. We'll see how we can schedule it and send that report out as an email attachment. And then we'll take a look and dive a little bit more into, not a deep dive, but kind of just show a little bit more about what's available with reports in service apps. So let's jump into that. Well, before we jump into that, just a little bit of review from last time. And there may be a couple of people who may have missed last session, but, we're dealing with, reports, but really with ITSM reports within our application here. These are the processes that EasyVista Service Manager supports: incident management, service requests. I'm not going to go through and read all those, but many times you're going to want to report off of these processes, such as maybe your incident backlog or your service utilization, or maybe you want to run some cab reports, some collision reports to make sure that you don't have any changes that are kind of stepping on each other's toes. So again, processes that we want to report on are the processes that are supported within EasyVista Service Manager. Now, when you're thinking about your report, obviously you're going to have requirements, a set of requirements, and this was a slide just to kind of get you thinking about those requirements and thinking about some of the EasyVista components that may go along with those requirements, such as, how much data or what type of data are we looking for? Well, you're kind of talking about the parent query, possibly a filter to go along with that parent query to refine that data. And then when we're talking about how much data, you're going to obviously want to consider when that report's being run. If it's a huge report with thousands and thousands and thousands of records, it may impact your production database. So, you might want to think about scheduling that report and sending that off via email. So again, as you're gathering your requirements, start thinking about, how in EasyVista you're going to satisfy those requirements. Now, within our system, this is a question that comes up quite a bit for us in support. What table holds what? We want to report on this, we want to report on that. This is just a reminder of the two major tables or main tables that we deal with within our tickets. ST request is your ticket information, which deals with, what's going on, your title and description, who reported or who requested this issue or ticket, when does it need to be done and what's affected. Oh, and the current status, where does it lie within its workflow? Your actions really are the kind of the finite details. Who's doing each particular task? The details of those tasks and how long each of those took. The actions, the sum of the actions could comprise, some data within the ticket on ST request. But again, think about, I just want to remind you of what tables hold what, for reporting. And we'll talk a little bit about more about that in a little bit. Now, I want to dive into report accelerators. And if you aren't aware of this, report accelerators are ready to use reports. They don't come out of the box, but they can be downloaded from our wiki. And they report on common ITSM KPIs. You know what? I thought I had this handy for you, but let me see if I can find this really quick. I want to see if I can find the link and put it in the chat. Report Excel.
So Lauren did put the link to Report Accelerators in the chat.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that.
It's like she read your mind.
I got you. And hey, Garrick, I'll put all the links to relevant things so you don't have to jump back and forth on that.
Okay, you're the best. Sorry, I had it saved and then I lost it.
All good.
So thank you. So Report Accelerators. So you have the link, and so we're going to be kind of going through some information within that wiki to make sure you understand this, because these are very handy reports. Well, I'll just leave it that way. I think you'll find them very useful. Now, our reports are really built kind of on 3 different layers, the 3 different views really on these reports. We do have our operational reports, which really deal with a forward view of tickets. What are you expected to do? What is in your queue? It helps you manage your queue, understand who's working on what, how many tickets you have, and their priorities. Reports such as current open changes. Maybe there's a current open changes for everyone, for all tickets in the system, and maybe your cab, that can be used for your cab meetings or some collision reports. But you'll also see reports like currently open changes for my groups, and so you can see what's expected of your group to deliver. Layer 2 is a little bit more of a view of the past. It's they're analytic reports which provide more of a rear view, really a historical view of your data, such as closed incidents with the processing and resolution times for either my groups or for the entire organization. And then layer 3 really is kind of all of the data, backwards and forwards. A lot of times these reports are used within dashboards, such as, maybe a widget that will show open versus closed tickets each month or within a certain time period. Those are very handy. Those are nice to kind of get a quick glance to get a snapshot of where you stand within your ITSM processes. Again, just a reminder actually, I think I have this a little bit out of place here. Sorry about that. That slide kind of...
Garrick, we do have a question from Bill. He said, I heard you say tables. Can these be interacted with directly with SQL or something like that?
Whoever asked that question, can you expand on it just a little bit? These are, you'll see that these are basically reports, just like we looked at last time, reports that you generate with our report builder, using the parent query and then using our filters. And within our filters, yes, you could use the advanced SQL option within the filters to write your own SQL. These report accelerators, they're, again, if you just break them down, they're just reports. But they're a set of reports that we provide that are provided for you that help you, so you don't have to really reinvent the wheel yourself.
Yeah, so what Bill said was he was referring to database tables. Oh, and he said great. So he was referring to database tables is what the terminology called to mind. So
okay,
I think that's good. We're good.
All right. Okay, so the methodology, there's a methodology on how these reports were built. Okay, they are ticket oriented, and that's where I think I had my slides out of order. And I just kind of wanted to show this real quick just to remind you of, what tables hold which type of data. ST requests, that's your ticket. AM action, that's, the work that is done to support that ticket. So these reports, they are all ticket oriented, but knowing that we can add tables to the parent query, we can join the AM action table, so we can still get action data out of these reports. Okay. You'll see that within the, these sets of filters and reports, you'll see that there's two views. You'll see a global view, and you'll also see a view of my groups. And so my groups, well, it's just like it describes. It will find records that are associated with the groups that the logged in individual is a member of. Okay. And then there's ticket ownership. Now, ticket ownership is something that I kind of wanted to spend a little bit of time on, because this is something that we get quite a few questions on in support, on how to report on ticket ownership. And there's a couple of different methodologies to think about, with ticket ownership. Okay. The first method, or method one, is the default method that the way EasyVista Service Manager is configured out of the box. All right, and the ticket is owned by the creator. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to say it. It's really, the ticket is owned by the first person or technician that touches it from the back office. So an example is, if a support desk analyst working through the back office receives a call, opens a ticket for the recipient, that support desk person is now the owner of that ticket. They're responsible to see that through to fulfillment or resolution. They might not be the one doing the work, but they're keeping tabs on that. Okay. If this were open through the TSA or the portal, maybe the customer did this through the TSA or the portal, it would be that first person who picks it up and requalifies the ticket and sends it to the appropriate team. Again, a lot of times that's a service desk who manages that queue. And that individual would become the owner of the ticket. Now, I try to highlight some areas of the wiki that kind of touch on some key points here. Now, this methodology works really well in an environment where one group, like your service desk, is the main point of contact. Again, they're the conduit between the technicians or the work being done and the customer. They're providing all the communication. So from a customer service standpoint, this is nice. Hey, I called in, I talked to Joe, I reported the issue to Joe. Joe called me back, or Joe sent me an email telling me that this issue has been resolved, or this, or my request has been fulfilled. Now that's the out of the box. That's the way the system comes configured today. The second way of thinking about ticket ownership is the person who's doing the work or resolving the issue is actually the owner. Now, I don't think there's a wrong way of thinking about it. It's really, the way your organization thinks and the way your organization runs, for you to make this decision on which way to go. Now, the ticket owned by the person working to solve the ticket, in an incident or request, many times you have one operational action, such as analyze and resolve, that solves the request. So, an example would be, if a ticket is open through the service desk, it's open through the service desk, and then it's assigned to an individual or a group, and then an individual assigned. That group and that individual become the group owner and the individual, the ticket owner, the person who is assigned. If they assign it to person B on their team, maybe person A doesn't have the bandwidth, they assign it to person B. Person B now becomes the owner of that ticket. Okay. Now, you do have to decide which action in your workflow is going to be called, let's say the main action. Like I mentioned in an incident, many times, often you just have one operational action that just, analyze and resolve. That person's going to fix the issue. But within requests, you may have, a workflow that opens up multiple actions that are open simultaneously that can be worked concurrently. In that case, who becomes the owner? You know, I think a decision has to be made for these types of processes. Now, to implement this method 2, it's a series, well, not a series, it's a business rule and related process that can be downloaded from that wiki page, imported into your environment. Again, you may have to take a look at the conditions and modify the conditions for your environment. But again, this is how you would kind of transition to method 2 of ticket ownership within your environment. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't done this yet, it's not going to correct or fix any of your previous tickets. But from that point forward, from that point when you implement it, from that point forward, ownership will be handled within method 2. All right. Any questions on ticket ownership methodology? I don't know if any came in, but I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that.
Oh, wait. Spoke too soon. Is there a way to disable method 1?
By implementing this business rule, it kind of overwrites it. You know, kind of, Lewis, can you flag that question right there? I want to say no, but I'm not sure. I know that implementing this business rule does kind of overwrite it. Now, I have worked with a customer who I believe is on this call, implementing this, and they did have a couple of request workflows that had multiple actions that were opened up at the same time. And what we decided to do in that case was we put a condition in the business rules to ignore those categories. So for those tickets or requests that were open that had multiple actions that were open, it was really that first back office technician who picked up the ticket or opened the ticket. They were set as the owner, because we couldn't really determine who should be the owner with the current workflow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, but that's something that has to be given some thought if we're going to method 2. Lauren, I'm sorry to kind of surprise you here, but Lauren, do you have anything to kind of, from a PS standpoint, to kind of chime in on this? Or is it really one direction or the other?
Now, Lauren did have to reset her router.
Oh,
so
oops.
I'm not sure if she's actually back on yet.
Okay, no problem. So I'm going to table that question about if we can disable it in any other way besides what we're talking about implementing these business rules. Okay.
Okay, we do have another question.
Okay.
Which method is the standard for a typical Easy Start deployment?
I think it's the default method 1, because again, that is just the way the system is configured out of the box. As you're going through your requirements with your implementer, I think this is a good conversation to have, although everyone on the call is probably already implemented. But yeah, method 1 is the default method that's implemented out of the box.
All right, another question. If you go with method 2, does the original person who took the ticket get recorded in a different field?
They're the created by person.
Okay.
Yes. They're the creator of the ticket. As far as modifying reports, I wasn't going to talk about this a lot because we spoke about this, in our last session, but just a reminder, a lot of times you don't necessarily need a new report. And if you can find a report that's grabbing the data that you're looking for, you can always refine what data that you want to present on the report through filters. All right, you have the ability to add multiple filters to any report. So just reminder on there, and remember, filters can be created with static values, meaning hard-coded values, or dynamic values, where you will present a field to an end user, such as, a date field to present, to search on a specific date range. So you can make these, again, hard-coded, or you can make them a little bit more user-friendly with dynamic fields. And your views, remember, that's how your data is presented. That's your output. You have many options within views. You can either just show it in a straight-out grid, with columns and rows. You can group them together. And with groupings, you have the, end users have the ability to display that report within charts and graphs as well. So just some reminders there. We'll kind of take a look at those as we're jumping into the examples. But just wanted to kind of flash these slides as a reminder of a couple of points from last session. Okay, so let me jump into... You know what? And I'm going to switch my screen share. So give me a moment here.
Okay, I do have another question also. Is there a way to use calculated columns, for example, select, concatenate A/B as a test?
I'm not sure if I understand that question. Is it in the Q&A section?
Right now it's still in the chat, but I can move it over to Q&A as well.
I'm trying to look for it, actually.
It's at the bottom of the chat. Donald answered, you'd have to request a view created based on the SQL query and submit to support.
Yes.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you. Yes, a view can be created. A SQL view can be created for you. All right. Donald, thank you. And by the way, I do love, and we were commenting on this from last session, we do love the fact that in the chat, some of you are answering questions from other people. Continue to do that. Please do. Communication between customers is one of the greatest things, and I think we're looking about spinning up a new customer community site, and those customer community sites, those were from past lives. That's where I got my best information, to be honest. So guys, feel free to share and help each other out within the chat. Thank you. We all appreciate that. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen again. Actually, that's going to be a little small for you, I think, won't it? Sorry about that. Let me do that again. Okay. On our wiki, our report accelerators page, I kind of want to explain a little bit of this to you as we're going down here. Again, you'll see some of the screenshots that I took for our slides. Very good information. But when we get here on setting them up, we see a first set of downloads right here, packages to download. And if we download, these are zip files to download. I want to let you know that these are all filters and views. These are all filters and views, and this is an old screenshot from our 2016 version, that are going to be applied to the menu items of all incidents. And if we look at all incidents, everything, well, I only have one of here. If you see one prefixed with EV, then you will know that that came from the report accelerators. Did I do the request on this guy? I did not do requests, which is interesting. I thought I did. Oh, I did them here. Hold on 1 second. Let me log into this. My apologies, I should have been here earlier. And if we can see everything that has been prefixed with EV Global or EV My Groups, that came from that report accelerator download right here of filters and views for service requests, and these are filters and views for your all incident menu options. And again, it just expands and enhances them. You don't have to recreate the wheel to create those filters and views yourself. They've been created for you. As we go down, you'll notice another set of downloads, and these are parent queries right here. And this is, I want to stop and take a moment because we spoke about parent queries in the last session, and we spoke about how you can get into trouble with parent queries, and your only get out of jail free card is really a backup that maybe you have an export or pulling it from another environment. You know, modifying a parent query with the wrong type of join, for example, could remove records that are found from the original query. So then your reporting could be off. So remember, reports come with parent queries. Your report accelerator report packages are this set of downloads that are a little bit further below the parent queries. But what I want to point out was our parent queries, we have it documented with our last modified date as well as the reports. So before you import these into your environment, it's a good exercise to go through and see if you have these parent queries already in your system. And if you do have these parent queries already in your system, compare the last modified date, because if you have a last modified date of, let's say, 2022, as you import this query, you're going to overwrite whatever you added to your query. Okay? So take the time before you import that, review the last modified date. It does actually specify that up here within the instructions. It notes to do that. But I wanted to point that out because, again, parent queries, you know, we overwrite a parent query, we don't have a backup, we don't know what was added to it before. That could be very difficult to get back to that starting point. Okay, but these reports have been exported and packaged up very nicely and configured very nicely, so it doesn't affect any existing queries that you have in your system. Wait, let me rephrase that. If you have not downloaded or imported the report accelerators to this point, this should not impact any queries that came out of the box. All right, all the parent queries that have been written for these reports that are in these report packages. Okay, but again, if you don't know if you have these queries, it's a good idea to go through and review them and review your parent queries. Now, to see that and to review that last modified date, one of the easiest things to do is go to the export section of EasyVista. So I'm going to go to my menu and go to the administration section. I'm going to select export and open that up, and I'm going to select export queries. You see export queries, I have a last modified date column. If you do not have this, if you don't see it, just come up here and modify the view. If we go into our view list or a view drop down and select edit view, well, if you didn't have last update already, you would see it in the available fields. Just simply drag it over to the list view, save it, and close it, and then you'll have that last modified date. You can look for the query as well as, you know, compare that last modified date. Here's the thing that's a little bit not really clear here, okay? It is mentioned up above that the naming convention, everything is prefixed with EV, and I did make the comment that all of these parent queries have been written specifically for these reports in the report accelerator packages. So I may talk to them and suggest some modifications in this documentation, because all of these parent queries, it's not really all my groups, but if you take a look at the parent queries, let's see, export queries. Where are they? You will notice that they actually all begin with EV. Oh, wrong environment. I have so many environments. I forget where I've downloaded things. All right, hopefully I'll show that to you in a minute here. Sorry about that. I've already downloaded all of these packages. So let's go through and import a couple of them, okay? So I'm gonna go to this, I'm gonna close all of my other VM windows, and I'm gonna go to this guy because I know I haven't uploaded anything here yet. Okay, I've already downloaded those packages from the wiki. So from my administration menu, I'm going to go down and I'm going to expand, import, and export, and I'm going to select import. All right, nice little window comes up. I'm going to choose the file that I want to import. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import those filters for service request and incident. And this is something I want to kind of show you, because this is something I just noticed just the other day. When you download those filters, they will come in a zip file. Rather than having to extract that zip file and individually import each one of these filters and views, what I found was if I select the zip file itself, I can select that. You can see that it's the .zip. I'll select upload, and it'll upload everything in that zip file. 38 of 38 have been uploaded. Nice little feature. I didn't know that. I thought I was going to have to go through that 38 times. I decided just to try it to see if it would work, and it worked. So that was kind of nice. So let me import the service request filters now. Oops. Sorry, I picked the wrong one. Select upload. And we'll see this uploaded 25 of 25. So now if I go to my menu, and if I, the global menu, sorry, and open up incidents and all incidents, I can see all of the EV global and EV my groups filters that came from that export package, as well as the views. This has also been done for service requests. I imported the service request. So again, we can see all of the filters and views that it come from that package. Okay, now let's take a look at the queries and reports. All right, if we look at this incident query, again, there's prefixed with EV. So if I want to go over to my environment, I want to go to my export queries menu item. I'm going to have my last updated date. What I could do is I could filter this and look for anything that has the name incident in it. And I will see all of the queries that have the word incidents. Oh, there they are. Sorry. Those are the queries I was looking for before. Reporting _EV. So there's the queries that came from the import packages. Like I mentioned, they have been prefixed with EV. So reporting incidents, if you have multiple, I'm sure you have multiple reports that are using this query, it's not going to affect your current reports. It's only going to affect the reports that you plan on importing. As another nice safe feature, these reports have been exported in a way where it will not override anything that's existing. Let me export one of these and I'll just show you that. I won't actually export it, but I'll just show you that feature. So if I select the report, I'm going to select export. Oops. Oops, that's not what I wanted to see actually. Let me go to my reports. I was in the wrong section. If I go to export a report, and it doesn't matter which report, the first thing it's going to ask me is, do I want to replace the parent query during the import of my report? Now, when this is exported, it's going to be exported with a pointer to which query it should be going to, but it's not going to import and overwrite that query into the new system, into the new environment. So that's how all of these reports have been exported, which has been nice. So if you import a report, before you import the queries, you won't see a parent query in the report. Here, let's do that, actually. Let's import the change ones. So I'm going to go to my, let's see, change report series. There they are right there. I'm going to select that package. I'm going to upload it. We can note what reports are being implemented. Let's say next. Did I click it? I don't know what's going on. Okay, this is what you don't want to see in a demo. Oh, there we go. I don't know what just happened. Let me check. Oh, there they are. They did import. Again, because they're prefixed with EV. If we take, remember, I did not import the queries yet. If I take a look at one of these reports, the configuration of it, oh, EV changes is there. I'm sorry, I must be in an environment where I've done this already yesterday. My apologies there. But if that parent query were not there, you wouldn't see it. But when you import the queries, then you would see it configured. Okay. Now, if we get into the reports, again, you have your series of filters and your series of views. And just as a reminder from the last session, you can always add additional filters and views by using this plus button. And you can rename it. And then use the magnifying glass to go through and configure. Again, you can use this nice GUI to create your conditional statements, or you have the advantage of using the advanced mode and writing the SQL out yourself. Okay, now you can use additional joins, but again, if you know SQL, if you're a little bit more comfortable within SQL, this is a nice way to go. Okay. Another thing that I want to remind you of is I'm a big believer in not always starting from the beginning. So if there's a filter that's close, you have the ability to copy it by using this duplicate button. All right, and that'll duplicate that filter. We can rename it and then modify it in any way we can. You have the same ability within your views. You can add additional views, you can duplicate a view, and you can delete views if you want to. Okay? So just some reminders there. Now, any questions, Stephanie? Lewis? How are we doing?
Yes, we do have some questions. And I'm trying to stay on top of them as some people are answering them. So I apologize if they have been answered by someone else. But so can you give us an example of a filter in SQL? Curious about the syntax in that filter/advanced screen. Is it just looking for a where statement?
Oh, okay. So if you actually go into an existing filter, so let's just select submitted this week, we can see the conditions that have been set through the GUI. But if we select the advanced mode, we can see how that's converted into SQL. So if you're ever looking for examples, go into an existing filter, hit the advanced button, and you can see the SQL that has been constructed. Oops. From the clauses that were built through the GUI. Okay, again, that's going into advanced mode right there. Anything else, Stephanie?
Yes. Emmy asked, will the imported reports run without a query imported?
No. They won't run without a query imported. Everything needs to have a query.
Okay. We got a couple more. How do you quick reuse the views? I always recreate them one by one.
How do you
recreate the views quickly? Michael says that he recreates them one by one.
Okay, so if you're on a version that has this icon, and I don't remember what version exactly, what year this came out. Lewis, I don't know if you do, or Lauren, if you do. I don't remember the exact version. But this is a duplicate button. You can use this to, again, duplicate anything. Now, in my mind, if you don't have this duplicate button, this is something that I just thought of. But if I select one, and if I go into advanced mode, and I select everything and copy it, all right, now I'll go to previous, and now I'm going to go to create a new filter. I'll edit that guy. I'll go into advanced mode. I'll paste it. And I've just duplicated it. So if you're on a version that does not have the duplicate button, that could be a way to go through and copying filters and views, or filters. All right. Anything else, Stephanie?
Yes. Sorry, I've got to scroll down a little bit. Once we load these filters, how is this going to affect users and the filters they see when viewing tickets?
It's not going to override any existing filter unless you already have them in your system. So when I went into my requests and added those filters, all of the EV filters, this one was the only one that I had there in this environment already. All right, global. So it won't overwrite anything that exists, but it'll add to it. Well, again, it'll overwrite it if it already exists, but it won't overwrite any of your other ones.
Carrick, there's a question from Deborah. After the hour, are you recommending that we update the report accelerators that we may already be in our environment, the new packages on the wiki, or are these the same?
Can you repeat that, Louis?
Yeah.
Oh, well, here it is.
Sorry if my microphone kind of broke in and out. At 34 minutes after the hour, Deborah asked, are you recommending that we update the report accelerators that may already be in our environment with the new packages on the wiki?
Oh, no, I am not actually, because if you look at the last modified date, on these reports, they've been around for a while. So no, I don't recommend overwriting if you already have these in your environment. We wanted to bring this up and talk about this because many times people aren't aware of these report packages, and we get tickets submitted to us saying how do we create these reports. So no, if they exist in your environment, they exist, and that's fantastic. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Are we good?
I got another one. Can you create private views and filters that can only be seen and used by your user?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Lauren, can you confirm that? But no, I don't think you can. Everything's global. Oh, Lauren's gone. I forgot about that. Sorry.
Oh, she was back on for a little bit, so I don't know if she's on or off now. But maybe
Okay.
Louis,
Right.
do you
There's
know? Oh, no, looks like she's on.
She's
think.
muted though. But there isn't a way to make it just only this person can see this view and another person, can see this other view. No.
Nope. I think they're all global.
Okay.
James, yes, thanks. If you look in the chat, yes, thanks. I forgot about that. In reports, no, there's not, but for user-based filters that can be created in the global. Thank you. So, reports can be run in many different ways. Obviously, we can go to the reports section of operation or transition, select reports, drill down, find the report we want, and run it. But many times we want to schedule those reports. You remember I mentioned earlier, if these reports are consuming large amounts of data, it could possibly impact your production database. So you may want to run those reports off hours. And I'll be honest, there's many people who just don't want to log into Service Manager every morning to click reports or to click favorites and click on a report. They prefer to have this in their email. Very understandable. So you have the ability to schedule those reports and send them via email. Here's a little snapshot of that scheduling configuration right there. Pretty straightforward, I think. We give it a name. You can define, you define its domain. And then how often do we want this to run? I mean, again, this is going to very similar to we see with scheduled tasks and scheduled jobs. We can send this to a specific employee or employees or a specific group or groups. All right, this one we have up on the screen here is actually going to all the members of the change manager group. And this particular reporter changes that were closed yesterday so they can review the success or not so successful changes from the previous day. You can define the reports. Well, I'm sorry. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You can put in a message body. Again, and that's a rich text format, so you can format that to look very nice. And then there's your reports down at the bottom. And so you can configure one-to-many reports, as well as which specific filter and which view to use. Okay? As well as the format. How do we want this report to be sent out? Is it in PDF format, CSV, HTML? You have a number of options on what format that document is going to be sent out as. And again, you can schedule multiple reports to run and be sent on the same email, if you like. I want you to ignore pivot tables. Pivot tables is that's kind of a deprecated feature. We're not going to go there, but it's on the screenshot, so I didn't want you to walk away thinking Garrick never even mentioned that. But we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Again, reports run through the scheduler. If we see reports not running, contact Cloud Ops or contact support. We'll work with Cloud Ops to take a look at that scheduler to make sure everything's running fine. But it will run through that same process that's running those scheduled tasks, those schedule alerts that you have running as well. Okay. Any questions on scheduling and sending out reports?
I am looking.
I see there was a question that was answered. If you try to send out a report using email that is not associated with an existing group or person in the system, it will not allow it. But if it doesn't know who to send it to, then yeah, it won't go. That's typically any email going out of EasyVista, actually. And Lauren, thank you for putting that link on scheduling reports in there for me. Okay, I want to show you just a little bit more about how apps are used in service apps, or reports are used in service apps, because reports really drive all the data in service apps. You define them to data sources for your widgets. Again, just like we saw with our scheduled reports, we can define which specific report we want to run, as well as the specific filter and view that we want to associate it with. Okay. And again, this is just a screenshot of the data source of Open Incidents today, and it's using this specific report. It's one that's in a folder called Dashboards, and it's just named Incidents using Open Today and a list view. Now, again, dashboards very much rely on reports. But we also see your service catalog. These, again, just different areas within service apps, just examples. Your catalogs, they're all driven off reports. Reports with filters and views. So you can specify this type or this. Actually, I didn't grab it on this screenshot, but a lot of times on these catalogs, you see filters above, such as hardware, software, access, things like that. So again, all driven off reports with different filters and views. I mentioned this last time. This is kind of a unique feature that I've seen being used, where a report was, and again, they had their locations really defined really well. So they were able to use a Google Maps feature to identify the locations of their incidents on where they may be. And on this specific screenshot, this organization had offices in Miami, New York, and San Francisco. And so you could filter and show the incidents for those specific regions or those specific cities. Now, as far as your dashboards, widgets, reports being used in dashboard widgets, we actually have a lot of widgets that are downloadable for you, and these are found within that Report Accelerator page as well. Actually, let me pull this over. And yeah, how to add widgets. If you come down here, you'll see a download and a description of each widget right here. Show you the naming convention. Where are they? But this also got screenshots and to show you what each widget looks like. So there are some widgets that have been configured for you using these reports based off of Report Accelerators that you can easily download. I'm not saying they're going to be 100% ready to use. You may have to tweak them a little bit, but again, you won't have to start from the beginning, and you can implement these into one of your dashboards in your environment. And that's all I had for today. I hope you gleaned just a little bit on it. I did spend most of my time on Report Accelerators because, again, I think these are ready-to-use reports that many people aren't aware of, but wanted to make everyone aware of them, as well as how to import them, what's included in the imports, and some of the gotchas around them. Any questions? I don't think I see any coming through the chat.
I'm looking, Garrick.
Yeah. So am I. I think it's like maybe I've been.
I'm trying to find.
So
One question came through from Doug Caswell. Can you create private views and filters that can only be seen and used by your user?
Oh, yeah, we touched on that. I don't think we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, so whenever you're within your profile, whenever you're creating profiles, is what you can do is you can give the ability for standard technicians to create new views or filters, or not, or you can, revoke that, and then the technicians or whoever else other profiles can only use just what views and profiles are there, but not specific private views and filters. I'm going to take a step further. If it's some specific data maybe you don't want someone else to see, then we can talk about domains, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, but there's not an area where you can save like my favorites, like my, create my views or my filters.
Okay, so would that be downloading a service app with the widgets in it so you can see how they are created to implement them in your own app?
Where's that question?
That's in the Q&A at 12:01.
Oh. Yep. Any upcoming way to have schedule reports go to a folder rather than an email to a user? I don't know if that was the question from Emmy that you just brought up, but I don't know. I don't think so. Lauren, have you guys done that in PS?
I'm looking.
Schedule the report and send it to like a directory or a shared drive?
So you can send it to a group. So it doesn't have to be a specific person, but you can send it to a group, if that helps.
Right, yeah, but rather than as an email,
I see.
Have it saved to a share, let's say. I don't think we have the ability to do that.
That'd be a great enhancement request.
Yeah, I haven't found that ability. And Doug, okay, let me find Doug's.
Doug's question is like 1 minute after the hour. There, Garrick.
On Q&A?
Starts.
Oh,
yeah, on the Q&A side. At 01 minutes after the hour, so it's 9:01 your time.
Oh, thank you. Can you create? Okay, no. So would that be a download service app with the widgets on it? Oh no. So I'm sorry. In the wiki, actually, you can download the specific widget itself Right. Oh, did I miss it? Right here. You can download each specific widget. There's not a service app on here. There's not a dashboard to download, but you can download these widgets and apply them to your dashboards. I hope that answered your question, Doug. Okay. Well, if there are not any other questions.
There's
Wait,
a
there's
couple
more.
more. I was going to say, if we want to go back to those, I can look at them.
Where?
In the Q&A, they might be they might be just slow. Let's see. Is there a spot in the wiki that gives an explanation of the different fields available? I guess, or I think that you're asking maybe the fields within each. Oh, there you go. You got it. Never mind. Data model.
So yeah, there's this data model, which I believe was sent out as a follow-up on from the last session, and I think we can look into sending this out again. This doesn't necessarily have a definition of each field, but again, this is the data model, which will show you all of the fields that are configured within each table, and if they have an association to another table, you'll see that, such as location ID in employee. In the AM employee table, we have a location ID field, which points to the AM location table. If I click on this, it's actually a link to the AM location table. So that's kind of nice. But it does not have a definition of each field, if that's what you're looking for.
Garrick, at 02 minutes after the hour, Michael Coleman in the Q&A area asked, I submitted a ticket yesterday to see if there was a report of click-throughs on service apps. I have a specific page within our app that I would like to see how often it's used. I believe that there's none existing, out of the box.
Yeah, and unfortunately, no, we don't have that.
No, the only thing that I can think of is, you could go into the service apps as the app manager or administrator, I guess, if you will, and you can look in who's logged in and who's launched what apps within service apps. But I'm not aware of anything that can go down to a specific page level. But again, that's another great enhancement request.
Yeah, if we could somehow use Google Analytics to, or something like that, you know what I mean? All right.
Okay, so Andy asked at 12:06, are they pre-configured or hard-coded to produce the results shown?
The widgets? The widgets are pre-configured, but you do have to have the reports downloaded to Service Manager that they're referencing. So it's a little bit of a two-part with those widgets. You have to download the reports, implement the reports into Service Manager, and then those widgets are pointing to those reports or pulling data using those reports.
Does that answer your question, Andy? Okay, and then Michael Coleman said I think you answered that one already.
Yeah.
At 12:02. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, we don't want to miss anyone's questions, so keep them coming.
I see another one just in the chat. Excuse me. Can we create views listing reports with a description field and other attribute fields for each report owner who requested it, what it does? Create views listing reports with a description field.
Lauren, where is that question?
It's in the public chat.
Okay. At about what time?
So 11:08. So
12:08.
9:08.
Can we create?
I just need to read it again.
Oh, I think what he's referring to is
just the way that like the menu is set up. I don't know. Let me see what you're thinking.
I timed out. I think what he's referring to is in this section, can we add more data to this view? And you can go to edit view, and there's not a lot of information that's available here.
If you close the window, close that, and then go to the three dots. Let's look at, see if we can edit.
Yeah, if we can add field, just like any other report, or any other parent query where you can add fields and add tables, you do have the ability to do that here. Again, if you're going to do it, export this query and make a backup of it first. Just a little reminder, but it looks like you do have that ability to go in and add tables and views to the parent query that this grid is using. Again, export that backup of that query before you do it.
Yeah, I think he's asking for we run a report that shows the list of all his reports, who them. Yeah, you have to play with that edit and see if you can add tables that identifies, okay, look at report called 360 degrees view. Who is the creator of it? Who is the, when was it created? I've not that table attribute, if there isn't such.
Louis, you're cutting in and out. Where are you looking? What timestamp are you looking at?
I'm again looking at the 08 minute after the hour from Andre. Question.
Okay.
In the chat area, can we create views listing reports with a description field or other attribute fields for each report?
So yeah, that's what we were just showing here. So I can add the comments field. Oops, I always forget that. So now we can see the comments field on the reports. But again, any other, I just added the only other field that was available, and what I was demonstrating or just showing was if you want additional fields, you have the ability to go in and add tables and fields to the query.